Yo, what is up? It is your boy Zether, back at it again with part 2 to what if Deku had Amaterasu flames. Now, on the last part, you guys actually ended up demolishing the like goal. You guys ended up smashing 600 likes in less than 24 hours. That's insane, like to put it lightly. But on top of that, you guys actually ended up doing a couple pretty good views on the last part, and it seems like a lot of you guys actually did end up enjoying the video. But there is one thing that I do want to say before this video gets started. I guess it's a bit of a rant, and if you don't want to hear, I guess you could skip like 20 to 30 seconds into the video, and you'll probably hear me talking about the what if. But with that being said, what I want to discuss is pretty much a couple of people were over here in the comments talking about some, bro, I used to like your what ifs, but like after this, like I don't want to, like this sucks, like this what if is bad. And I'm just sitting here like, okay, like go somewhere, dude. Like if you don't like this what if, go watch my other stuff. Or if you don't like me, then don't watch me, dude. Like why are you sitting here disliking the video and commenting, talking your stuff? Like bro, don't nobody care. Like just go watch someone else. You don't like my what if for the way I do it, just don't watch it. Nobody's forcing you to. But yeah, that's pretty much my mini rant. I mean, it's like, it's just dumb, bro. Like if you don't like the content, why would you watch it? It's not like I got a gun to your head. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't really want to get too into it. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get into this amazing recap, and then go ahead and get started. So, all right, let's go. All right, so basically on the last part, we had covered how this version of Deku was born. How he actually is going to look like Itachi. And a lot of you guys were actually commenting, yo, Zether, does he actually have the Itachi hair? And to that, I answer, yes, he does. But one more thing, this Deku actually grew up being a lot more popular than I guess most of you thought that I was saying, because he was like even more popular than most of you guys even think. He had most of the girls. He was kind of like Itachi, quite literally, in terms of school. And we had also ended up covering how in 6th grade, Deku had actually met Shinso and had trained with him up until they were in middle school. And at that point, Shinso was pretty dang strong in terms of hand-to-hand combat, as well as Deku. So this series is actually going to be very, very good in terms of Shinso, because it's a character that I usually mess around with. But anyways, with that being said, we ended up doing the All Might stuff, and Shinso ended up getting one for all. And at this point, I believe I had said that Shinso was able to use 35%. Yes, Shinso can use up to 35% full cowling. And also one more thing, they ended up doing their quirk assessment. Their UA entrance exams, which Deku had actually beaten Shinso by 1 point. And I had left it off on a bit of a cliffhanger with Deku and Cammy kind of agreeing to go on a date the next day. And this is when I'm gonna hop back into it, guys. So for those of you who were expecting for me to keep going, this is for you. So let's go. All right, so this is when after that Deku would chuckle at Cammy as he would say, all right, let me get your number. As she would put her number in his phone, and he would say, all right, I'll be calling you later tonight. As Shinso and Deku would just be talking about stuff to each other, as they're pretty much just talking about who they think won. As Deku would say that he's pretty sure he destroyed more robots than him. As Shinso's just like, yeah, I mean, I guess. And this is when Deku would actually perk up, saying that I'm pretty sure there was hero points in there, though. As Shinso would say, what are you talking about? As Deku would say, you didn't notice? I mean, why do you think they would throw a 0-pointer at us and have no reason, like no points? It has to be something. As he would tell Shinso, and Shinso would realize, he's like, you're right. He's like, I might have actually gotten a couple points. There's a chance I could beat you. As Deku would chuckle and say, yeah, I guess there's a chance. As he would like just kind of do quotations in the air. As Shinso would just be like, uh-huh. And this is when Deku and Shinso would proceed to pretty much walk off, and they'd just be chilling, honestly. They'd pull up to Shinso's house, and this is when Shinso would ask him if he's down to play some video games. As Deku would actually say, you're on. As they would proceed to start playing video games, and this is when Deku would say, Sharingan. Just kidding. He doesn't have it. But this is when Deku would stare attentively at the TV as he's just like sitting there, doing all the perfect controls as he's whooping Shinso. Like he whooping this man as Shinso is just taking the beating. And this is when Deku would pretty much, say that 3 hours had passed by. As he would say, yeah, I gotta go home. As he would actually arrive home, and this is when he would end up texting Cammy, telling her if she's still up for that date tomorrow. As Cammy would actually text Deku and say, of course she is. as Deku would smile and say, great, where do you want to go? As Cammy would text back, I really don't have anywhere in particular I want to go. You can pick. As Deku would say, McDonald's? As Cammy would just like kind of send some laughing emojis. Deku was just like, nah, I'm kidding. As Deku would think, where should I take this girl? As he would proceed to just be like, where should we go? As Deku was just really like thinking about it really deeply. He's like, where should I take her? As out of nowhere, Deku was just like, wait, why am I overthinking this so much? I'm just gonna take her to eat and that's it. As Deku would pretty much text Cammy that they're gonna go out to eat at a restaurant. As Cammy would say, okay, that's more like it. As, you know, Deku's just like chuckling to himself. As we're gonna go ahead and fast forward to the very next day. Now, this is when Deku would proceed to get his drip on. He would proceed to text Cammy that they're going somewhere, not exactly like a nice place, but somewhere where you can dress like nice casual, I guess you could say. Not exactly dress shirts and all that stuff, but yeah. This is when Deku would proceed to pretty much put on a denim jean jacket, a white shirt, some black jeans, and some forces. As Cammy, she pull up looking good, I guess. As let's see, she would pull up with light denim jeans, white crop top, some white sneakers, and some jewelry. Yeah, some jewelry. As she would come up with her hair done really nicely and makeup, I guess. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what girls do. But yeah, that's essentially what Cammy comes in with. As Deku is pretty much just chilling there, waiting for her sitting there at the restaurant with a table reserved for two. As Cammy would actually arrive and see Deku sitting there, she would say, hey, so I guess we're doing this. As Cammy would say, I guess we are. And this is when Deku and Cammy would proceed to get into some conversations. As Cammy would actually ask Deku where he's actually going to be going to school. As Deku would actually say, I'm going to be going to UA. As Cammy's just like, UA? And Deku's like, yeah. As Cammy's just like, I'm actually going to UA as well. As Deku would say, really? That's actually kind of impressive. I didn't see you in the entrance exam though. As Cammy would say, I actually made it in by recommendation. As Deku would say, okay, that makes a lot more sense. As Cammy would say, yeah. As Deku would actually look towards Cammy and ask her, so what's your quirk if you made it into recommendation? As Cammy would look at Deku and say, my quirk is illusions. As Deku would say, how powerful are these illusions? As Cammy would proceed to tell him that if somebody's caught in an illusion, I'm going to change her quirk up a bit. Her power is essentially, I'm pretty sure it's a mist that turns into illusions. So I'm pretty sure that's how her illusion quirk works. Except this time, if somebody believes the illusion enough, the illusion becomes real. So the more that Cammy pretty much trains the quirk, she'll actually be able to make these illusions be a little realer and make them feel more, genuine, as in kind of like a genjutsu instead of the way that her illusion quirk works. So that's pretty much what Cammy's quirk is going to be updated to. So yeah, this is when Deku would actually say that that's a really impressive quirk. With enough training for that quirk and the right willpower, she could actually become one of the top 5 heroes, if anything. As Cammy would say, you really think so? Deku would say, I mean, yeah, you clearly made it into the entrance. You clearly made it in by the recommendation. So Cammy would say, I guess. Had to get some water real quick. Anyways, this is when Deku and Cammy's date would pretty much end, as they would continue to talk to each other and get to know each other a little bit more. Deku and Cammy would just kind of talk about themselves and get to know each other, as Cammy would ask Deku if he worked. As Deku would say, currently he doesn't have a job since most of his time is actually spent training and, in school. As Cammy would say, well, I guess that makes sense. As Cammy would say, yeah, most of my time is spent in school and a job since I kind of need it to support my family. As Deku would say, I didn't understand. As he looks at Cammy and says, I think I might be able to help you out with that. Since in this version, Deku's actually going to be a little more wealthy than you'd think so. Dang, slow ass car over here revving its engine. Anyways, as Deku's over here just pretty much chilling and talking to Cammy a little bit. As Deku asked Cammy if she would be down to, go over to Deku's place to just end the day off there. As Cammy would say, go to your place? This soon? As Deku would say, yeah, what's the problem? As she would say, nothing. As Deku would just kind of like look at her, she would say, all right, then let's go. As they'd proceed to walk on over there. As, Deku and Cammy are pretty much still talking, as the restaurant was actually kind of close to Deku's house. So this is when they would actually arrive to Deku's. As Inko would actually open the door, and Deku would say, hey, Mom. As Cammy would say, as like Inko would be like, oh my god, Izuku, you finally brought a girl over. As Cammy would be like, wait, I'm the first girl you've ever brought over? As Deku would kind of smile and say, yeah, pretty much. As Inko would be like, whew, I was beginning to think. As Deku would say, Mom. As Inko would be like, oh, yeah, right, sweetie. As she pretty much just says, so what were you guys up to? As Deku would proceed to say, we went out to eat somewhere. As Cammy would say, yeah, it was amazing. Your son is pretty great. As, Inko would chuckle and say, yeah, I guess. Gets that from his father. As, Inko would just be, smiling as she's talking to Cammy about Deku. And Deku and Cammy would pretty much just be chilling, talking to Inko in the living room, watching a movie. As Cammy would actually say that she has to go. As Deku would say, okay, that's cool, he'll walk her. As Deku and Cammy would actually proceed to walk off to Cammy's house. As Deku would drop her off, and Cammy would actually, at the end of it, Deku would grab Cammy as he pulls her in for a hug. And then this is when Deku would say that he had a pretty good time with her. As Cammy would actually go in for a kiss. As Deku would actually be caught off guard, as he just goes into it. As Deku and Cammy would proceed to, have a little bit of a session. As Cammy goes inside, and Deku then walks off on his own as he texts Shinso that the mission was a success. As Shinto would just send laughing emojis, as Deku would just send some cool cool emoji. As then we got the very next day popping up. Now this is when their first day of UA is actually going to be happening, and this is when Deku would pretty much arrive with Shinso as they're both just chilling. But on their way, as they would walk around and a lot of girls would be walking in the hallways, they would actually stop and stare at Deku, saying that Deku is pretty good looking. Pause. No homo though. But anyways, and this is when, a lot of the girls would pretty much be looking at Deku. As Deku and Shinso would arrive to the door, as they would say, wow, this is a pretty big door. Do we got monsters in here or something? As Shinso would say, wouldn't be a surprise. Possibly some mutation quirks. As Deku would say, you're right. As they would walk inside, and this is when Shinso and Deku would proceed to pretty much walk inside. As Shinso and Deku would pretty much just be chilling in there. As Deku and Shinso would proceed to go sit in the back. As he would begin to talk to Shinso, as Deku just kind of feels a little weird. I mean, he's used to it, but he thought that would end by elementary school, but sadly it hasn't. As most of the girls in the UA, especially Uraraka and Mina, are actually over here looking at Deku. And Deku thought that Uraraka was looking at him, but in reality, she was kind of looking at Shinso. So yeah, that's pretty much how that goes. And instead, we're going to have Momo and Mina, who are actually staring at Deku, just kind of drooling as, then we have Cammy, who actually walks in the room, as she would actually see that Deku's getting stared at by all of the girls in 1A, as she's about to go up there and say something, but this is when Aizawa would actually get up and say, if you're here to make friends, I suggest you, as, he does his usual shtick. And this is when he would tell them all to go outside, as Uraraka would point out the orientation, but Aizawa would actually shut her down as he tells her that there's no time for this orientation stuff. As Deku and Shinso would pretty much smile, thinking that, yeah, that's pretty true. As, Aizawa was actually Shinso's favorite hero. As Deku actually does think that Aizawa is pretty cool as well, since Aizawa gets the job done and he doesn't exactly waste time or do stuff like other heroes do who are kind of just in it for the fame. As Deku just respects that from Aizawa. As this is when they would do what Aizawa says and go to the fitting room. But when they're in the fitting room, this is when Kirishima would actually point out how ripped Shinso and Deku are. As Deku and Shinso would pretty much look towards each other and say, yeah, I guess we're kind of strong. As Kirishima would ask, what do you guys do? As Deku would say, we pretty much just have been working out since we were like in 6th grade. As Kirishima would say, that's awesome, man. And this is when they would pretty much walk outside, as they would proceed to take the quirk assessment test. As Deku actually has the ball thrown to him, Shinso's like, forgot, you beat me. as Deku would smile, saying that yeah, you'll get it next time. As Deku's actually told to throw the ball. As Deku's like, okay, so what's the trick here? What do I gotta do? Can I use my quirk? As Aizawa would say, yeah, you can. Throw it as far as you can, and you're allowed to use your quirk. So better get some high scores, because whoever gets the lowest is gonna get expelled. As Deku would think that that's pretty brutal, but it's something that he's actually not against. So this is when Deku would this is when Deku would proceed to grab the ball. As he says, okay, I guess I can throw this. As Deku would proceed to have his flames and create a sort of baseball bat weapon. As Deku would have the flames burn at nothing. He would just have the flames be still, as they wouldn't burn anything. It would be at the temperature of outside. As Deku would create it, and none of them would actually feel any, heat coming off of it. As Todoroki would look towards Deku, as he kind of just has a little bit of a pissed look, as he looks at Deku's quirk and says, oh, he has a fire quirk. As Deku would look towards the rest of them, as he would then throw the ball into the air, and with all of his strength, Deku would hit the ball as far as he could, as Deku would then create 2 flaming shuriken, as he would throw them at the ball right as it was in mid-air, and he would change its trajectory so that it can hit even farther than it would have originally. So that results in Deku getting about 456 meters, which is not exactly the most impressive number that I've done in the What If, but it's a ball throw, not the rest of the test. In terms of the grip strength, Deku would shatter that thing. He would completely obliterate it, breaking it with nothing but his bare hand. As then, in terms of the race, Deku would blitz it before anybody could have noticed, without even using his quirk. Seeing that Deku's incredibly fast and faster than any of them could see, Deku would blitz. He's way faster than Stain, and they had trouble with him, so imagine Deku. As Deku would pretty much proceed to obliterate everything else. The high jump, Deku would fly on over that, as he creates flame steps, as he just kind of walks over it. And in terms of the side-to-side lunges, Deku would pretty much copy what Mineta did, except with fire bouncies, as Deku would proceed to bounce himself and ricochet off of him. As he would make the flames become more solid and, squishable, so he would just ricochet off of them like Mineta's balls. Pause, as Deku would proceed to pretty much do extremely well in the test. Now, while all that was happening, all of the girls in UA, except for Uraraka, since she's on Shinso, since she liked Shinso, would pretty much be fangirling over Deku, seeing that he was extremely powerful. And this would actually rub Cammy the wrong way, as Cammy would actually get extremely jealous, seeing that all these other girls are looking at Deku the way they are, thinking that that's her man. As she would actually be about to say something, but this is when Deku would actually be caught off guard, as he's then actually asked, he's actually asked by Momo what he's going to be doing at, for the rest of the time. As this is when, hold on, guys, give me a second. Much better. Anyways, this is when Momo would actually walk up to Deku as she asks him what he's doing after school, as Deku would say that he actually doesn't have any plans. And this is when Cammy gets extremely mad at Deku, as she would just proceed to ignore him for the rest of the day. And this is when Deku would actually be wondering why Cammy's acting like that, as Shinso would just be thinking that, yeah, it's because of that, isn't it? As he would be thinking that, yeah, Deku's not going to exactly have the greatest luck. As Uraraka would go up to Shinso and ask him what he's doing, as Shinso would say he's not doing anything, as they would actually go out and hang out at the park, as Uraraka doesn't have that much money, and Shinso didn't expect it, so they would just go chill at the park. As Deku and Momo would actually chill at UA and just kind of talk to each other, as a lot of other UA girls, being Suyu, Mina, and Jiro, and all the other rest, and the invisible girl would pretty much be on Deku, as Deku's just like, I said I would hang out with one of you guys, as they would say, no, you're good, you can hang out with all of us, we don't mind. As Deku's just like, okay, as he would proceed to actually end up having to hang out with all of the UA girls, as Deku would pretty much just be having a little bit of an awkward time, seeing that all of them kind of want a piece of him. And Deku would just be grabbed and like tossed around as if he was some toy or something. As Deku would actually be pretty annoyed by that, thinking that, what the heck is wrong with these people? As Deku would pretty much just like kind of be like, yeah. As they would ask him if he would actually train them. As, you know, they were not talking about train. As Deku would say, yeah, of course. You guys up for a fight? As Deku would get into a fighting position and say, all right, how about all of you guys attack me at once? We'll see where you guys are at. As you know, Mina, who had actually asked that, would have been like, it's not the fight that I was talking about, but whatever. As she would rush at Deku, and Deku would sweep her leg, as the rest of the girls would pretty much be taken down as quickly as her. As they would all actually be pretty impressed by Deku's, you know, combat abilities, as they would have thought that he was nothing but a pretty boy with a cool quirk. But no, Deku can back it up with more than just some quirk, as they would actually be pretty impressed by Deku's, you know, fighting prowess. It's not every day that you see somebody with a quirk extremely as powerful as his, who, you know, is able to not only rely on his quirk, but actually do things for his own self, instead of just being one of those guys who thinks that a quirk is everything. They would actually think that Deku's pretty cool for that, as Deku would honestly be smiling, thinking that, yeah, that's me, I guess. As Cammy would actually send Deku a pretty angry text, but Deku's just confused, like, why are you so mad at me? As Cammy would be extremely butthurt, as Deku would pretty much just be like, okay. As now we're actually going to go ahead and skip on over to the very next day. As Deku would pretty much walk up to the school, and during the entire day, Cammy would pretty much just be ignoring Deku, as she's just chilling with Shinso, since he's the other person that she knows, and she would be hanging out with Shinso and Araraka that entire day. And this is when Deku would be wondering what he did wrong. I mean, he didn't do anything. As this is when the end of the day would arrive, as All Might would bust in through the door talking about some, I am here, walking in like a normal person, as he would show them all to their costumes, as Deku would be smiling, thinking that, yes, this is going to be the best. As Shinso's costume would actually be a tactical one. His costume would look kind of like the ones that you guys have been seeing all over the fan arts, without the scarf, since at this point Aizawa hasn't trained Shinso. But that is going to be happening soon. Since, oh yeah, I also forgot to mention, actually, nah, I'm going to have that happen later. Okay, now, this is when the hero team and the villain... Oh, actually, no, I gotta talk about Deku's costume. Yeah, Deku's costume is essentially gonna be the one in the thumbnail, the Itachi Anbu outfit. And he's actually going to have the mask as well. The dope mask that Itachi has. As the rest of the people would ask Deku why he has that, Deku said that he thought it gave it a pretty cool touch to the thing. As they would say, I mean, I guess, as Deku would just walk off, as this is when All Might would pretty much announce the teams, as Cammy would be mad and thinking that he better not be getting with one of those girls, as she would be wanting her to be picked. As this is when, oh my god, I'm tired. As this is when All Might would actually do the teams, but this time, instead of Deku and Araraka, we would actually have Deku and Momo versus Todoroki and Ida. And once that name got called, Cammy would be furious. She would pretty much be doing that Majin Buu steam, as she was just like angry, as she gives All Might a death stare, and All Might's just like, what did I do? As, you know, All Might is just like, kind of terrified of this girl. As, you know, this is when the matches start, and Momo and Deku would pretty much, I don't know how well into detail I could go into this, but Deku would actually tell Momo to go up to the top floor, or to kind of create something with her quirk that they can use to track down where the bomb is at. As she would, and they would track it down very easily, as he would tell her to go up to the second floor, a floor under that, and wait for him. As Todoroki would actually have that same anger that Bakugo did, seeing that this kid has a fire quirk, he wants to put him down as quickly as possible. Not because he actually hates Deku, but because he thinks that Deku's gonna be like Endeavor, seeing that he has a fire quirk. As Deku and Endeavor would pretty much... Oh, no, sorry. Deku and Todoroki would pretty much just have a little bit of a weird... Oh, God. As Deku and Todoroki would have a little bit of a weird, relationship in this version. As Todoroki would actually be rushing to find Deku. As Deku would have told Momo to get out of here as quickly as possible. As Todoroki arrives and he shoots an ice glacier at Deku, pretty much trapping him in the wall, Deku would phase right through it, turning himself into literal fire. As Deku then stands in front of Todoroki and hits him with his knee right at the jaw, sending him flying. As Deku would appear behind Todoroki as he grabs his arm and slams Todoroki on the ground. As Todoroki just coughs out some blood, saying, "What the?" As Deku would proceed to create some flaming capture tape. As Deku would capture Todoroki in an instant. And this is when Deku would proceed to freeze the flames, since they weren't as hot as Deku could go. And this is when Deku would be thinking that, wow, this kid might actually pose a little bit of threat. As Todoroki would rush at Deku after creating, some ice spikes at Deku. As Deku would jump over them, and Deku would then look towards Todoroki as Todoroki's running at him, and before he even knew it, he shot a blast of fire at Deku, which Deku actually invites. This is when Deku would hold his hand out as the fire comes straight at Deku, and Deku would actually convert the fire into black flames as Deku shoots it back at Todoroki with the same intensity that Todoroki did, as Todoroki's actually the one who ends up getting charred a bit, because Todoroki actually ended up putting a wall of ice before it could hit him. If not, he probably would have been burned alive. And this is when Deku would capture Todoroki for good, as Momo would have actually rushed in the room to take care of Ida before, Deku could have even noticed, seeing that she actually wanted to impress him. And this is when she would actually create a bow staff and would proceed to actually create a jug of water. As, she would pretty much begin to grab a giant thing as she dumps it into the room that Ida's in, seeing that he has a speed quirk, as she would then create a bow staff and some waterproof shoes, I guess you could say. She would put them on and jump on in there as she attacks Ida and takes him down and touches the bomb, securing the win for their team. As Ida was actually extremely shocked that they actually managed to beat him? Him? A superior student? Hold on, guys, I gotta go through something real quick. Him? A superior... Hold on, I'm gonna close the door real quick. Give me a second. As Ida would just be astounded, what? That's weird. As this is when that would pretty much end, and it would be said that Deku's... Actually, no, that Momo's the MVP, seeing that she was able to handle Ida as perfectly as possible. As this is when Deku would pretty much walk up to Cammy, and she would say, "So, how was she?" As Deku would say, "Who was what?" As she would say, "Don't act dumb. You don't think I know about you and that girl? She did ask you to hang out yesterday, and you gladly said yes." As Deku would say, "Yeah, this is my classmate. What seems to be the issue?" As Cammy would go on a rant at Deku and would proceed to pretty much start, talking and rambling, just getting on Deku's last nerve. As Deku would pretty much look at Cammy as he would say, "So, what do you want me to do?" As Cammy would say, "Well, I'd like it if you would respect me and not talk to other girls." As Deku would say, it was nothing like that. As Cammy would proceed to get extremely angry, and this is when Momo would actually walk into the picture. As Deku would actually just be talking to Momo as he would actually walk off, and this is when Cammy would actually be extremely angry. As she would actually walk up to Deku, grab him, and literally just start kissing the man out of nowhere, forcefully. As Deku at first would be like, "Yo, what?" As he would then give into it, as Momo just gets a little jealous and angry at the same time, as she knew that something was going on with them too, but she thought that she was making some swift work. As this is when, Momo would proceed to look at Cammy, as Momo would say, "So, I guess you want him, right?" As Cammy would say, "And you do too." As, both of them would proceed to create something with their quirks, as Momo would create a bow staff and say, "All right then, winner gets to keep him." As this is where I'm going to be ending it off, guys. If you guys want to find out who wins this battle, definitely go ahead and, leave a like down below, since the like goals are going to be 250 likes if you guys want to know what happens on the next part. With that being said, guys, you guys know the drill. It has been your boy Zether, and I am... Wait, actually, no. One more thing. If you guys want... Actually, yeah, I'm going to be posting a poll to see who you guys want Deku to end up with. Post who you guys want him to end up with, whether it's Momo or Cammy. It's between one of those two girls. And that's going to determine who Deku actually ends up with. So, with that being said, guys, it has been your boy Zether, and I am actually out this time. So, peace.